everybody. Welcome back for another episode of Casting Notes from Rose and Kim. Kim, how are you today?
Great. It's good to see you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. It's so good.
This is Kim Swanson, a casting director in Los Angeles, and I'm Rose Rosen from Florida, if you haven't figured that out yet. How have you been?
I'm good. Been staying busy, which I keep pinching myself. I don't know how I'm staying busy in this time, but I'm very, very lucky. So, but I find it interesting. It's like, how am I staying so busy? How did I have regular full-time shows that went on for 10 and 12 weeks and do everything I'm doing now too? How did I do that?
I know. I don't know. This is a whole alternate universe we're in. Hopefully one day we'll come out of it. But yeah, we're fortunate we're still working. But we do have a fun little guest today.
I know, one of my favorite people in the world.
I know, to talk about look, it's Ian. Wait, it's Knauer, right?
Very good. Yes, Ian Knauer.
Right. I didn't ask you ahead, so I took a chance. So I'm glad I made it. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you very much. A little cold today because I'm in New York, so it's not as warm as it is in California and Florida.
Right.
Oh, well,
here we are. We're going to have a warm conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're those kind of gals.
So Ian's a Broadway actor, and from what I understand, and you could tell us a little bit about this, you were on a ship doing a previews, I think, just as the pandemic hit. So tell me more.
Well, there's this great gig for a Broadway actor with Disney Cruise Lines. And so I was able to do that. I was playing Jafar in Aladdin and then the lead role in one of the other shows. So it's a really great gig. And I had done it once before. And I love working for Disney Cruise Lines and for Disney in general. But yeah, so we had rehearsed in Toronto because that's where the rehearsals are, gone down to Orlando. And to be honest with you, because we were so focused on rehearsals and everything, I was unaware really that there was some sort of, because this was in February, so already it had begun. We got on the ship and there's a 2-week period where the other cast is still on the ship and we're kind of learning the ropes and rehearsing and doing tech rehearsals. And because in each show there's pyro and lasers and elevators and flying, it's a Disney ship, they're fancy. So there's 2 weeks. So guests were still on. Then it was to be our opening week. And that was when everything was canceled. So then we were on the ship for 3 weeks after that with no guests, just crew. And luckily, it felt like the safest place in the world because nobody was sick. We had our temperature taken every day. We were all socially distant, so to speak.
Nobody was sick on the whole ship. That's amazing. That's great news.
Yeah. So we had it was odd because you thought, when are we going to be leaving the ship? How long? Because nobody knew how long this was going to last.
Right.
So we were thinking, we'll leave the ship the beginning of April. We're going to come back in June. We're going to,
Well, we all thought that. So here we are. I know, TikTok. I mean, I knew somebody during that time that was on the Diamond Princess, right? That was the one that got stuck in China. And then he was in Andrews Air Force Base. He didn't get it then. He just recently had it. Thank God he's fine. But he was in the hospital 5 days anyway. But it just eludes no one. We are all here. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about.
Anyway, it was a really interesting experience because when you're doing a show, when you're rehearsing a show, everything is especially in that there were more than 4 shows that the cast was doing. I only had to do 2, but there were 4 full production shows, then plus a whole bunch of other things. So there's a lot of rehearsal, a lot of work goes into putting all of these different items together. And so then to have everything kind of stop, you then were just able to just at a nice leisurely pace rehearse. or do understudy rehearsal, or because, you know, we made use of our time. We, you know, cleaned the dressing rooms. We, you know, we just did stuff like that needed to be done on the ship, because pretty much the ship was being done repairs that they don't normally get to do, all of that stuff. But yeah, so it was a very, very, and we gave master classes to other people on the ship, and you know, you just
well, that's
you
fun.
become inventive with what you're doing, just like what actors are doing, what people are doing, all during the pandemic.
Right. So yeah, what are you doing to keep your craft up?
Yeah, Ian and I have known each other for 30 years.
I was wondering if you were going to say.
And so we met when he was just, I think, starting college, right?
Something like that, if not like,
Maybe.
yes, it might have been freshman or sophomore or
Yeah.
junior, something like that. Yeah.
We go so far back, but
It was a little while ago.
but
Before I was born, let's be clear.
Yes. Yeah. Way before you were born.
Way before. So, but I love your, you have such a in some ways standard story, in other ways not, of how you got started in the business. You didn't actually start off thinking you were going to go into theater and acting, right?
No. My parents were pretty clear that there was no career in show business. P.S. I'm still doing it.
Yay. But that was
my mom is
typical.
Yeah, my mom is a physical therapist and very good at her job. My father was he owned his own business that was a truck parts and accessories business. Now, they loved musicals, they loved singing, they loved all of that. So that was how I was introduced to it. But so I went to the University of Michigan. Yeah, all their fault. Then I went to the University of Michigan and I studied pre-med and musical theater, because that's pretty much what people do.
Well,
so
to fall back on a little job.
Yes, exactly. Fall back on the musical theater, just in case the pre-med didn't work. So pre-med I dropped, I think it was my sophomore, junior year, I dropped biology because it was boring, and I took tap class. That was the end of, that. So my first job was actually Disney down in Florida. Did a summer stock gig, did a cruise ship gig, and then I moved to New York. And I just was very grateful that from the moment that I graduated, I just kept working. So what I found really interesting is that I went to a school that was very good at preparing me to audition, to perform, to analyze a song, to analyze a scene, to pick up choreography and imitate the style as best as I could. But the business part of it, I knew about headshots and I knew about resumes, but I didn't really know a lot about the business side of it. Taxes, just how it all worked. But what's fascinating, what every single actor finds when they go to LA or to New York, is once you start to audition, you just start to talk to every single person that you are auditioning with. Or if you happen to get a job, you just start talking to them. When you start out, you get to ask the questions. Do not let anyone tell you, they may laugh at you going, oh my God, can you believe he's asking that question? And then you go, yep, isn't that funny? So I'm still asking the question, please answer it.
Bravo, I love that.
You get to be the one to ask the questions, and it's up to people like me now to answer them. Yes. So I found out about, who do I go for my taxes? How do I do this? And then I didn't really understand unemployment. There were so many things, but it was all in like the audition waiting room. Where did you go to get your headshots? How did you And then people would say, well, how do you know what to sing? And I'd be like, what do you mean, how do you know what to sing? That's easy. That's the part that I learned in college. But that was what I could help them with So it was great.
No, that's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
what we try and do with our little show here.
Well, and production, whether it's stage or film, it's really a community. You know, I mean, I know that sounds, you know, it's like such an overused term, but it's so true. I mean, you look at like Ian and I did a little show together, you know, way back when. That's how we originally met. And here I still consider him like family. You know, here we are, you know, decades later, still in touch, and you know, I would do anything for him, and I think vice versa, and
Vice versa.
you just have that connection.
Right.
You know, they
Yeah.
I
And
don't
I'm now 52, and I am doing more film work. And I was on a set, and one of the regulars, I was doing a scene with him, and you know, so I know enough that I want to be. I'm not going to be on my phone.
Right.
We're hanging out
Right.
in a room, and I want to be respectful of him, because you know, if he's got the newspaper in front of him, he's saying, I want my time. But if there's a way to communicate and to chat and to go, so how did you get started, and how did this, and you know, that last scene that we did, how was that for you? Is there something I can do for you? It's just, you're just talking to other actors. You get a lot of information from directors, from, you know, all kinds of people, but don't be afraid to ask your fellow actors.
Yeah, be human around people, and it's disarming. It's surprising how that works.
But I like the note that you made is like, pay attention to those social cues. If you're sitting there on your phone or your tablet and you're disconnected from everyone else, they're going to stay disconnected from you.
Right.
But
Right.
also being aware of the social cues. If they are reading a newspaper, oh, that's their way of saying, I'm not talking to anyone right now. You know,
Right.
like pick up on basic social cues,
Mm.
Yeah.
and it will carry you really far. And do it. And you know, Ian is so polite and lovely, and he's not in your face, but just will ask a very sincere, genuine question, and people respond to that. You know,
Well, and there's a balance too, because you want it to be fun for them,
Right.
not only because you're a human being and that's what we want, but also you want for them to have a good experience when they're working with you, so that hopefully they'll say, oh, hey, who's that tall, you know, old guy? Let's get him again, you know, whatever.
I mean, that's a huge thing to know know the audience. If, you know, if you're in a room with somebody, you got to, but that requires you paying attention, like you said, and staying off your device and just looking around and seeing if there is an opportunity that you could have a warm conversation, or if there's not.
Right. And key word is warm conversation here.
Right.
Because, you know, I think so often young actors get so zealous. It's like, what can I get from that person? What can I get from that person? Where like Ian saying, what can I offer you? You know,
Right.
what can I do to make this easier or better for you and your scene? And going at it from that angle versus I have, you know, so many young actors, as Rose and I have talked about, like, will call us and like, can you tell me how to do this? I'm like, well, if you read my website, you wouldn't be asking me. If you watch these videos, you wouldn't be asking that. Like, you know, if we took time and had these conversations and held, you know, handheld each actor that wants to be an actor, right? We wouldn't have time to do our jobs, right? Like,
and then you get a job. If we get a job, you get a job.
Right. So, but it is there is a difference when someone comes at it from the viewpoint of, you know, sincerity of, I'd like to learn from you, or, you know, what can I do to make it easier for you? How can I do better for you? It's a lot different, you know, psychologically.
And it is amazing then how connections start. I mean, maybe not when you're starting out, but definitely for me, if I'm starting to chat with somebody and they say, oh, well, I started out because I did this, and I go, oh, then you know so-and-so and so-and-so. And
Right.
and then that is another connector.
Yeah.
Because as you know, it's not always about who you know, it's about who knows you.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. We were talking with Pat Healy the other day on this show, and he was interesting. And I think we had like 250 people in common. It was just absurd. And but that's our business, and and now we're all connected. It's interesting, and it's human, and that's what we have to not forget. We're just people, whether you're a star or a casting director. We just are people that need some respect and some time sometimes to do our work, and sometimes we have time to talk, but it's good to know the difference. What else are you doing like now with your time to keep your craft alive? Tell some of our audience that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting balance. When I got back to the city, the first month or so was really not much. I just kept exercising is very important for me because I
Right.
need to make sure that the body still works. Um, and I just didn't know how long this was going to last. Of course, I did what everyone else did, and I cleaned my apartment and reorganized things and did all of that stuff. But and then the requests for doing benefits and galas started to come in. So that I'm very grateful for because of that.
Virtually?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll do like a
Yeah.
self-tape, like an audition, but it's with a tux on or with a, whatever. And
Fun.
thankfully, my husband is a pianist, and so I have an accompanist who lives with me. And we have a second bedroom where we can tape things, and so it's a lovely situation. But
Neat.
so those have been my performance opportunities.
Right.
And then in the fall here in New York, production started to, or maybe it was the summer, started to happen again. And I work with a company that does helps with reels, film reels for people. And so sometimes they'll call me to be the other actor in a scene.
Right.
And so that is great for me just because it keeps my brain going. It keeps me, working a bit. So I haven't really done a lot of work, unfortunately. But that's all fine because I know kind of where I land in the pecking order of especially the film and TV world. And there's no theater happening. So that's just as it is. I haven't been
That's what you have to
vocalizing.
do.
Yeah, but vocalizing really would be the other thing to do, is to really just to keep my voice in shape and exercise, and then you're really doing everything else just to keep your brain going.
Right.
Because we all have our own ways of psychologically and emotionally dealing. When I first stopped performing, that first month, it was quite impactful. Not just how much I loved working, how grateful I am that I get to make a lot of money doing it, that I get to make people happy, but the element of purpose, I had no real concept how much of a sense of purpose my performing is for me. So to have that taken away, that's probably been the biggest challenge for me during this year, is finding where to put that, because that doesn't go away.
Right.
You feel guilty is not the right word. It's just an odd place to be, where you're not fulfilling something that and I'm sure there are lots and lots of people who want to be performers and can't be performers because of whatever reason, and so they're doing another job, and so that's something that they have to deal with all the time. And I'm just very fortunate that it's just right now that I have to deal with it.
Isn't it great though, when you circle back and you think about, talking about the story of getting started and how you started with pre-med, right? How, we can take it for granted that we love what we do. We love what we do and we have a sense of purpose. We don't realize how much until it is taken away. But then, 2020 hindsight, such a beautiful thing. It really solidifies that you made the right choice, where I'm sure there would be people that say, oh, but a real purpose would be in the medical field helping people. But they don't realize that this can be just as much purpose, bringing joy to someone's life, helping them laugh, helping them to feel is just as healing in many ways.
Yes, all of those things. And sometimes also helping them to think about something in a different way.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's all essential workers. At this point, people know that the entertainment field is essential, as is the medical field, of course.
Well,
Right.
it's fascinating how, what do we do in our apartments? What do we do
Right,
in our
right.
homes?
They
We're
need us.
putting on the TV, we're watching Netflix, we're watching whatever. We need entertainment. We need
Right,
a
right.
sense of, it's not that immediate connection on stage, but it is a connection of watching another person acting out something that we've actually experienced or we haven't experienced, so that we get to feel those emotions or do whatever it is that that production wants us to feel.
Right.
or do.
Yes.
Different experience, but hopefully it yields the same kind of joy.
Gosh, Ian, I'm so glad you joined us today. I love you so much.
And I love
So
you.
much fun. Thank you for coming, and like and
Thank you.
subscribe our channel, everyone. Thank
For
you.
sure.
Bye-bye.